Greetings. Happy and blessed Sunday to everyone. It is day 7 of Storytime Live at 5. Um, and I've been enjoying sharing these stories with you each day. Um, so I have 2 stories that I wanted to share with you today. But first, I just wanted to share that I have think it's very important that we continue to keep up as much normalcy as we can for our children. Okay, so it's important to read to them and have them engage in a regular routine every day. Hello to those who have joined. And as such, I've encouraged this two-way communication where, as I read to the children and adults, that if they choose to, they can write a story or draw a picture and email it to me at drhelentinsley@gmail.com or text it to me there and I can show it. So I want to start off with sharing the first picture that I received. So a prior story that I read was The Gingerbread Man. And, hi Val, and Valerie Drakeford, my former high school student, growing up classmate, her granddaughter sent me a picture based on The Gingerbread Man. And this is Olivia's Gingerbread Man. What a beautiful drawing, Olivia. And I want to say that, it's interesting as I'm a teacher of young children, the detail. You see the gingerbread man has 3 buttons. Olivia's gingerbread man has 3 buttons. She gave him the same face, the same color. Children make connections with the stories. And so giving them the opportunity to incorporate art with the story is a way to make a story more meaningful. Hello to those that joined: Brenda Marshall, Valerie, Rich, my elementary school classmate, Patience. Hi, Aunt Marlene. My auntie is on. And Catherine Carter. So I have 2 stories for you today. And the first story is a children's favorite of all times. And it's called The 3 Little Pigs. And the author is Bonnie Dobkin, and it's illustrated by Subhash Bahaja. The 3 Little Pigs. Once upon a time, 3 little piglets lived in a small, cozy home with their mother. Their names were Porter, Perry, and Parker. Porter was a relaxed sort of pig. He liked to play, eat, and sleep. Perry was a creative type of pig. He had lots of ideas, but he didn't always finish what he started. And Parker was a thoughtful little pig who worked hard and did everything just the way he was supposed to. This kind of annoyed his 2 brothers. Well, the 3 little piglets got older and older and bigger and rounder. One day their mother made a decision. "You've grown too big for this little house," she said. "It's time for you all to go off into the wide, wide world and build homes of your own." So the 3 pigs packed their bags and got ready to leave their too cozy home. "Any advice for us, Mother?" asked Parker. "Why, yes," said their mother. "Watch out for that no good big bad wolf who's always sulking around." "And remember, always work hard. Remember to plan. And whatever you do, do the best that you can." The 3 pigs kissed their mother goodbye. Then they trotted out of the house, down the road, and out of the village. Before they had gone very far, they came to a big field full of golden haystacks. I'm sorry about the glare. "You know," said Porter quickly, "I think I'll build my house of straw. It's a nice color, and my house will be easy to build. I'm not sure this is a good plan, said Parker. I'm trying to change the lighting a little. I'm not sure this is a good plan, said Parker. Will it be warm enough? Will it keep out the rain? What will happen when the wind is strong? Parker rolled his eyes. It will be a great house, he said, and I'll still have time to play when I'm done. Then good luck to you, said Perry and Parker, and they continued down the road. Soon Parker and Perry came to a shady grove of trees. I'm trying to figure out the best angle. You know, said Perry, I think I'll build my house of logs. Logs are strong and I can paint them different colors. That sounds like a good plan, said Parker. If you finish what you start. I will, said Perry, and he waved at Parker as Parker continued down the road. Perry stood and looked at the trees. He said. Cutting down those trees would take a long time. I'll just build my house from the sticks on the ground instead. And that's exactly what he did. It's a lot of glare today. I apologize if you can't see the illustrations as clearly. Further down the road, Parker was busily planning his house. He bought bricks and stone and mortar for the walls. He brought strong oak planks for the doors. He worked on the house for days and days, but when he was done, he felt happy. Mother would be proud, he said. I worked hard, and I made my house the best it could be. Now, what none of the pigs realized was that someone very bad knew that they had left their mother's house. And who do you think that someone was? Yes, it was the no good big bad wolf. First, the wolf went to Porter's house. He saw bundles of hay held together by rope, and he saw Porter Pig outside napping in the sun. Hello, Pig, said the wolf. Porter opened his eyes, squealed, and jumped to his feet. He ran into his house, pushed the door shut, and hid under his bed. Now, said the wolf, I only want to have a chat. Ha, said Porter. I know a hungry wolf when I see one. It really doesn't matter, said the wolf. Little pig, let me come in. Are you kidding, said Porter. Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. The wolf stepped back, then he huffed, and he puffed, and he blew with all his might. The straw house flew apart. The wolf pounced. The pig bounced. But Porter squealed and ran. Said the wolf. Unfortunate. Oh, dropped the book. The next day, the wolf decided to try again. He strolled down the road until he saw a flimsy house made of sticks and twigs. Perry was lying in a hammock outside. That's a hammock, boys and girls. Hello, my little piggy, said the wolf. Perry jumped up in fright. He ran inside his shaky house and pushed a dresser against the door. Ha, said the wolf. Does he really think that's going to help? He cleared his throat. Little pig, let me come in. No way, said Perry. Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house down. The wolf stepped back. He took 2 huffs, and he took 2 puffs, and then he blew with all his might. Sticks and twigs swirled in the air. The wolf pounced, the pig bounced. But Perry squealed and ran. This just won't do, said the wolf. But the wolf knew there was still one more brother to visit. He strolled down the road until he saw a house made of stone and brick. Parker was digging in a garden. "Hello, friend pig," said the wolf. "Don't you friend pig me," said Parker. "Leave now or you'll be sorry." "I doubt it," said the wolf. Parker went inside and slammed the door. The wolf heard 3 locks locking and 4 shutters slamming. He stood back. Little pig, let me come in." "Not by the hair of my chinny chin chin." "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." "Go ahead and try," said Parker. The wolf huffed 3 times, he puffed 3 times, and then he blew with all his might. Nothing happened. "That's a surprise," said the wolf. Now he huffed 4 times and he puffed 4 times, and then he blew again with all his might. Still nothing happened. The wolf tried again and again and again. "This is not going at all the way I expected," the wolf said. Finally, the wolf fell flat on his back, puffing and wheezing. He heard the shutter creak open. "I knew my house would stand up to that no-good wolf," said Parker. "I'm just glad he didn't think about coming down the chimney." The shutter slammed shut. "The chimney," whispered the wolf, springing to his feet. "Of course." He sneaked to the side of the house and saw a pile of boxes stacked against the wall. "This makes it even easier," he chuckled. He climbed up the boxes. He crept across the roof. Then he jumped into the opening and slid down the chimney. But down below, water bubbled in a big black kettle that was hanging in the fireplace. This is called a kettle. Parker threw more wood onto the roaring fire. "Here I come, little pig," said the wolf. "You weren't so clever after all." "Oh, no," said Parker. The wolf landed in the kettle with a loud kerplunk. Water steamed and boiled around him. The wolf howled in pain and shot right back up the chimney. The water had boiled off half his fur. "Oh, no," cried the wolf. He was so embarrassed that he left the country never to be seen again. Porter and Perry moved in with their brother, and they lived happily ever after. And that's the end. That's a modern day rendition of the 3 Little Pigs. So I want to see who joined us. I see Melvin Scudder and Dawn. I see my former pre-K student, Jennifer Pineda. Hi, Jennifer. Robin and Whitney, Elijah. Hey, Sam. Margaret and Kyle. I taught his sister. Catherine, Brenda, Kevin. Patience, Aunt Marlene. My Aunt Marlene is in North Carolina, and I'm so grateful she could join me. I just wanted to say during this time of coronavirus and this international shutdown, we are fortunate in spite of that we're living in a time that we still have different means to communicate with one another. We are able to see one another. We're able to reach one another through multiple means. And even though we have to practice social distancing, I send everybody a virtual hug. So my next book is called Ruby's Wish. But I want to tell you a little reason why I chose this book. Number one, this is March and it's Women's History Month. So it's important to focus on the contributions and achievements of many women. So yesterday we learned about Harriet Tubman, and I have many more stories of women. But Ruby's Wish is about an Asian young girl. And I think it's important to highlight that right now because from what we have been told, coronavirus began in China. And there have been people, including the person that leads this country, I refer to him as 45, but President Trump, have called it a Chinese virus. And as a result, there have been numerous biased treatment numerous incidents of biased treatment and actual attacks against people of Asian descent. And you know what? We're all human and we're all in this together and we're all one human family. So it's important to understand and recognize um, the need to stand up against bias. Okay, against bias on race, culture, language, gender, national origin, religion, etc. So, in honor of Women's History Month and to celebrate the contributions and stories of diverse women, I bring Ruby's Wish. And the author is Shirin Yim Bridges, and it's illustrated by Sophie Blackall. Ruby's Wish. Ruby's Wish. If you walk down a certain road in a certain city in China, past the pet market with its yellow and green rice birds hopping in their bamboo cages, and the goldfish and the terrapins in their porcelain bowls, you will come to a block of houses, 5 houses wide and 7 houses deep. Many families live here now, and the buildings are brown with age and dirt. But if you look closely, you will see that once upon a time, this was all one house, the magical home of one family. The house was built by an old man who returned from the Gold Mountain. That was what the Chinese call California, where many men left to join the gold rush there and few came back again. But as I said, this man did come back. And he came back very rich. And he did what rich men did in old China. He married many wives. His wives had many sons, and these sons also had many wives. So at one time, the house was filled with the shrieks and laughter of over 100 children. Amongst these children was a little girl that everyone called Ruby because she loved the color red. In China, red is the color of celebration. On New Year's Day, children receive red envelopes full of good luck money. Brides wear red on their wedding days, but Ruby insisted on wearing red every day. Even when her mother made her wear somber colors like all her other cousins, Ruby would tie up her jet black hair with red ribbons. Because he had so many grandchildren, Ruby's grandfather hired a teacher to come to his house. Any grandchild who wanted to learn could join the classes. This was very unusual in China, in those days when most girls were never taught to read or write. Whenever the weather was fine, classes were held in the garden. The windows of Ruby's grandfather's office opened onto that garden. Often he would rise from his desk to gaze out of his windows at his grandchildren. One day, Ruby's grandfather looked down from his window to see the high white wall of the garden plastered with calligraphy. His grandchildren had been practicing their handwriting. Ruby's grandfather laughed to see that many had smudged ink on their hands and faces. Then he noticed a sheet that was more beautiful than the rest. Which of his grandchildren had produced such wonderful calligraphy? Calligraphy is a type of writing. Down in the garden, the teacher was praising Ruby. Her ears were turning as bright red as her jacket. But if Ruby was doing as well as her boy cousins in her studies, she had to work much harder. When the boys had finished their studies for the day, they were free to play. But the girls had to learn about cooking and keeping house. In fact, as far as their mothers were concerned, those were the only thing girls had to learn. One by one, the girls stopped going to the classes, all except Ruby. She would catch up on her embroidery at night. Many nights her candle flickered long after everyone else had gone to bed. One day the children were asked to write a poem. Ruby wrote, "Alas, bad luck to be born a girl, worse luck to be born into this house where only boys are cared for." Ruby's teacher was very impressed by the poem. He showed it to Ruby's grandfather. Ruby's grandfather was also impressed, but he was worried about what the poem said. He summoned Ruby to his office. Ruby found her grandfather sitting in his chair, her poem spread open on his desk. "Did you write this poem?" asked Ruby's grandfather. "Yes, I did, grandfather," answered Ruby. "Do you really think that in this house we only care for boys?" "Oh, no, grandfather," said Ruby, very sorry that she had upset him. "You take good care of all of us, and for that we are all grateful. Listen, Ruby," her grandfather said gently. "I would really like to know why you wrote this poem. How are the boys better looked after?" "Well," said Ruby, trying to think of a small, unimportant thing, "when it is the moon festival and we are each given half a moon cake, the boys always get the half with the yellow moon yolk." Said her grandfather, as if he was still waiting. "Is that so?" "Yes," continued Ruby. "And when it's the lantern festival, the girls are given simple paper lanterns, but the boys have red lanterns in the shape of goldfish, cockerels, and dragons." Ruby's grandfather chuckled. He had never thought about it before. He could imagine how much Ruby would have liked a red lantern. "But most importantly," said Ruby, staring hard at her red shoes, "the boys will get to go to the university, but the girls will be married." "Don't you want to be married?" asked her grandfather. "You know you are very lucky. A daughter of this house can marry any man." "I know, grandfather," said Ruby, "but I'd much rather go to university." Ruby's grandfather touched her hair. "Thank you for talking to me, Ruby," he said. "Go on with your lessons. Make the most of them while you can." So Ruby went on with her lessons. Some of the boys grew up and went away to university. Some stayed in the house and started families of their own. But when they grew up, all the girls were married and sent away to live in their husbands' homes. Ruby knew it would soon be her turn. In the ponds, Ruby could see the orange and white carp gulping for breath under a thin layer of ice. A carp is a fish. See the little fish at the bottom? It would soon be Chinese New Year. Ruby felt sure it would be her last one at home. On New Year's Day, Ruby put on red velvet shoes and tied red ribbons in her hair. Then she went to wish everyone a happy New Year. She started with her married cousins, then worked her way up through her parents, aunts, and uncles. Each one gave her a red pocket full of lucky money. Finally, she bowed before her grandfather. "Good luck and prosperity, grandfather," she said. "Good luck, little Ruby," replied her grandfather, and he handed her a very fat red pocket. Ruby could feel the eyes of all her family on her as she opened the lucky red envelope. Can you guess what it was? It wasn't money. It was something much better than that. It was a letter from a university saying that they would be proud to accept Ruby as one of their very first female students. So that's how Ruby got her wish. This is a true story. And how do I know this? Because Ruby is my grandmother, and every day she still wears a little red. And that's an actual picture of the grandmother right here. That's the grandmother. And that's the end. And that's Ruby's wish. And it's really that everybody can get an education. So whether you're a girl or a boy, or no matter what culture you come from or what language you speak, education is important. So I hope you enjoyed these two stories today. Thank you to everybody that joined since then. And again, I want to share again. I asked any children that would like to send me a picture based on one of the stories that I read. Today was the Three Little Pigs and Ruby's Wish. You may draw a picture, email it to me, scan it and email it, or take a picture and email it and send it to Dr. Helen Tinsley at gmail.com. And today, to show again, Olivia, who's 6 years old in Florida. This is the granddaughter of Valerie Drakeford, the great-granddaughter of Mr. Drakeford, who worked with us at the high school for many years. That's his 6-year-old granddaughter's drawing. Hey, Cousin Lynn. Hi, Brian, Matt, Caristos, Michelle, and everyone else that I already acknowledged. I appreciate all of you joining me for Storytime daily. And again, I'm going to try to do this every single day as long as we're facing state shutdown. Okay? God bless. Everyone stay safe. Wash your hands. Practice social distancing and stay home as much as you possibly can. Okay? Well, one thing I want to say, we're learning what's important. We're learning what's a need and what's a want. You know, I think that people are learning to stop taking things for granted that we always did. You know, we waste so much food. You know, we waste so many paper products. You know, we're if anything, hopefully this is teaching us to be more conscious of conservation and to be more civil and more humane to one another, because we're all in this together. Okay, so again, be safe, stay well, and I look forward to seeing you same time, same place tomorrow at 5 o'clock. God bless. Peace.